Hey guys, so welcome to this tutorial. So you're going to need three programs specifically in order to import models, mod campaign evolved, anything visual, right? For tags, we use a different program. I'm not going to get into that, not today at least, right? So what you're going to need is you're going to need F-model, you're going to need Unreal Engine 5.5, and you're going to need this US map for F-model, right? First thing I'm going to do is show you how to set up F-model, right? So you're going to come to this website, it's in the description. You're going to want to click download now. This will obviously download the program, right? I already have it downloaded, I'm just going to press cancel, right? With that, you will get this little file here, right? It's just a bunch of numbers. Inside of this zip file, you'll have the actual exe. What you're going to do is you're going to put this exe anywhere on your computer. However, when you do run it, it's going to create a couple more folders, so I would recommend putting it in its own little area. For me, I have it in my own custom campaign evolved editing kit directory, which is where I keep all of my tools that I use, right? But when you do extract things with F-model, it will extract this, it'll create this output folder, right? So yeah, first thing we're going to do is we're going to extract things from the game, right? So with that, you're also going to need to download this US map for F-model. This will allow it so you can just download, so you can actually extract the things that the game will, the F-model will recognize it. So most games, most Unreal games, have what's called an AES key, which is sort of an encryption key. So if you're for some reason using this to import things to a different game or whatever, you're gonna need to find that. Thankfully, Campaign Evolved doesn't have that, so we're fine. So yeah, you're gonna want to come here and click Manual Download. It's going to bring you to this here. Click Slow Download. You will have to make an account, which is kind of annoying. It's just frustrating, right? But I already have that downloaded. So then once you do have that downloaded, you'll also get this other file, right? This other zip file. It will include your US map. Now you're going to want to put this in your packs folder of the Meteorite directory in your game files. So to get there, you're going to want to go to Steam, Campaign Evolved, then you're going to right click the little icon here, Manage, Browse Local Files, and then obviously from here you go Meteorite, Content, Packs, and then you're going to put it in here. As you can see, I already have my own one here, right? So then after you do that, you will be able to open up F-model, right? And it will show up with this Windows protected your PC thing. If that shows up, don't care, click run anyway, it's fine. I'm yet to get a virus. Now, for me, it automatically opened up my game. It won't do that for you. You're gonna have to click this little selector button, and then it will show up with this screen, right? Now, if you have something like, I don't know, Fortnite downloaded, right? It's gonna show up, dedicated game, Fortnite. You don't have to worry about any of this, right? You're gonna click Add Undetected Game. You wanna find your game folder, so Campaign Evolved folder. For me, that's, Steam Apps Common, all that stuff. We just went there, right? So you click Select Folder, and then it will automatically set up everything else for you. So it'll have your name set up, have the directory set up, and all that stuff, and you'll be fine. Then you'll just be able to click this little plus button to add it to your thing, and then you can click OK, and then you should get to this screen here. Now, we can't do extracting things yet, because we need to add in that US map, right? So you go to Settings here in the top little corner here. You click General, then there will be a little option here that says Local Mapping. What you're going to do is you're going to want to, it's obviously disabled by default, so then you'll want to enable it, and then find your mapping file path. Now for us, that's going to be in our little directory that we put it in for the game files. So obviously Meteorite, Content, Packs, right? It's going to be in there. So then after you select that, right, it's going to show up here. You can get to extracting, right? Never mind. That's not right. I was wrong. Before that, we're going to want to go to export and change it from the mesh format, UE format, to PSK. This is just to have it have better compatibility with Unreal Engine, right? But then after you've done that, you can just click OK, and it'll bring you back to this screen. Now, when you're here, right, you're going to want to click this little loading mode. It might be on multiple by default. If not, if it is, switch it to all. Then you can click load. This will open up all of our pack files for the game, right? So we'll have our, if you have the premium edition, it'll show up with the digital extras thing. But we don't care about any of that. We just want Meteorite, and then content. This is all of your Unreal files in the game. Exceptionally useful to have. For this tutorial, I'm going to be importing a Master Chief model. I'm going to be changing his model. So to find that, you're going to want to go into characters, Spartans, and then default. Then in this default folder, you're going to see 3 folders: mesh, textures, and materials. So from this folder, we're going to want the sk Spartans _ default mesh. So in order to get that, you're going to want to right click it, click export, and then model. And then that's going to bring up this funky little window here. And then by default, it's going to extract it into an output folder that's wherever your fmodel exe is, right? For me, it didn't do that because I already have it downloaded in a different location, right? But in order to find this model, right, we're going to want to go into that output folder, then exports, meteorite, content, characters, Spartans, default, and then mesh. And then it will be in here, as you can see, sk Spartans default, right? So then you're going to want to, so yeah, once you have that extracted, you're going to open up Blender, right? You're just going to want to drag and drop it into your scene. Now, it might show up with this screen here, at least it does for me. You're going to want to have this scale set to 1, and then you're going to want to import the model. The reason that we do this, right, is because without that, the skeleton just breaks completely when you get into the game. It'll go all spaghetti mode, it won't work, it'll look terrible, right? So you're going to want to import it as a 1.0 scale, and then after that, you're going to want to select the armature, go to item, and then scale it down in Blender by 0.01. Then with that, your guy will be tiny, right? So this is, the whole reason that we're doing this is to get the skeleton into our Blender scene, right? Which is how we're going to figure out how to pose and all the vertex group names and all that stuff for when we do set up our custom model, right? So then after you have all this, and you have your model, you're going to want to pose it to the pose that is seen here, right? So the way that the Master Chief is set up in this game is that this is the undersuit, this is his skeletal model, which is pretty much the actual model with a skeleton. Whoa. And then, so this is like just all that stuff. And then his armor are separate static meshes. We don't want to use that, right? So what I like to do is I like to just have it as a skeletal mesh and then just make all of the other armor pieces invisible, which I'll show you how to do. But yeah, once you have this set up, you have this model in here, you're going to want to set up just your model that you want to do. You're going to pose it like that. And after you do that, you should have something that looks like this, right? This is what I'm going to be importing today. It's my Halo Reach Spartan. So with this, right, you're going to want to first of all, important thing that you need to do is you need to set up all the vertex group naming. So the way that I do that is I basically just enter edit mode. I click select. I see, oh, that's a pinky bone, and then I check, what's the bone that's the closest to that pinky? And then I see the name. I'm like, oh, okay, that's pinky _3 or whatever the fuck, right? And then that's just basically how I go about my vertex naming. It's probably an easier way. I don't know. That's what I figured out. So then with that, you'll have all of this set up. But there is another issue. If you have a model that has lots of different textures in it, at the moment in Campaign Evolved, we can't have custom materials, right? They all have to be just the basic in-game materials. So with this one here, for instance, she obviously has a whole lot of materials, right? It's the Halo Reach Spartan, there's going to be a lot of materials on it. So what you're going to have to do is set up what's called a UDIM. That's this. It's basically where all of your textures are contained into one texture. And then after you create this UDIM, you're going to want to go back into Blender or wherever. You're going to go to UV editing, and you're going to have to UV the, like re-UV your model to that of this, you know, UDIM texture, right? You can see it's all there. This is annoying and time consuming, but it has to be done. So anyway, after you have posed your model and you've set up all the vertex names, done all the bones, all that stuff, then you can come to File, Export, and then you need to go to FBX. Now, before you export, you also need to make sure that your armature is named armature. By default, as you can see here, it's called SK Spartans, whatever the fuck. You don't want that. It has to be called armature. Unreal Engine gets really, really mad at you if it's not called armature. I don't know why. Alright, so what you want to do is come in here. Then here we have, you're going to want to export it as an FBX. It's just the easiest thing to import to Unreal Engine. And then you're going to want to set the scale to 100. And then you're going to want add leaf bones unchecked. This is basically, I don't know what this does. I'm gonna be honest. I'm pretty sure the scale, all I know is to help obviously stop the skeleton from breaking entirely when you get into the game. But you're gonna click, for me it says overwrite. For you it's just gonna click say save. You're gonna click that, and then for this, you're done in Blender for now, right? So with that, you're going to want to download Unreal Engine. Oh no. This is, I mean, I assume you guys know what Unreal Engine is. You're going to click download launcher, and then this will download your Epic Games launcher, right? This will obviously be in the description. And then you're just going to want to follow the steps there until you have Unreal and the Epic Games launcher downloaded. After you do that, you're going to open it up, you're going to see this, right? With this, you're going to want to click this little Unreal Engine button, and it'll bring you to this entirely new menu. Then you want to go to Library, and then Engine Versions. You can see this little plus button. And then you want to change the Unreal version that is here, right, to Unreal 5.5.4. That is the version of Unreal that this game uses. Here I already have two projects set up. This is not really that important at the moment because it's just what I've previously set up. But after you have 5.5.4 downloaded, you want to click launch, and then it will bring up a different menu. Okay, so after you open Unreal Engine, you're going to see this menu here. It's going to be blank for you. I already have some projects set up that I use for modding the game, right? But for you, you're going to want to go to Games and then blank, and then you're going to change this project name to Meteorite, because that is the name of the game. That's like the name of this our content folder for the game, right? So it's like Campaign Evolved, the Meteorite, and then that, right? So then after you do that, you're going to want to just click the little create button. I can't do it because I already have a project of that name. But then after you click that create button, it's going to open up your blank scene. So yeah, now when you open up Unreal Engine, you're going to see basically just this. We don't actually care about the environment here. What we're going to want to do is we're going to go into edit and then project settings, because we have to set up a couple things before we can actually get to importing our model and doing all that stuff. So first thing you want to do is go into packaging, and then you're going to want to enable use Zen server as cooked output store. This is basically to just make sure that textures and everything work right. And then with that, you're also going to want to scroll down here and change the build configuration from development to shipping. This is just going to have everything build in a better way. And the final setting that you're going to want to enable is go into all settings and search virtual, and then you should find an option here that says enable virtual texture support. Campaign Evolved uses virtual textures. If you do not have this enabled, your textures will be completely broken and they will look bad, right? So now with that, right, you're going to come back into your thing after restarting your Unreal Engine, so that all your settings can take effect. And then you're going to want to go into, then after you do that, you're going to have this here. There's going to be a content folder. So you're going to want to open that, and then you're going to want to create a folder for our purposes. Basically, okay, what you're going to want to do is you're going to open content, and then you're going to want to match the directory of the file that you want to replace, right? So for me, that would be content, characters, Spartans, default, and then mesh, right? This is so you have to set this up like this so that it actually replaces the correct thing when you package the mod, instead of like replacing just some other random thing, which is annoying, right? So at the moment we can't have brand new stuff. At least I'm pretty sure we can't. So that might change in the future. If it does, I'll put something in the description talking about it or whatever. Yeah, all of that stuff. So yeah, when you do that, once you figure out the directory that you want, so for me, characters, Spartans, default, and then mesh, right? You're gonna come up and yours will be empty. I'm going to empty mine to show you just how it will look, right? So yeah, you're gonna have mesh. Now, specifically for Master Chief, right? You're going to have two different directories. So you're going to need Spartans default and then Spartans common, right? So in Spartans common, you're going to want to create a folder called skeleton, right? Which will basically house your physics guy and your skeletal guy, right? So with this, now I will import my actual model that I'm using here. So yeah, once you have your model around, your FBX that we exported earlier, you're going to drag and drop it into the window here. It will show up with a bunch of stuff that doesn't really matter. Going to want to click import. Now, when you do this, none of your stuff is going to be named correctly, right? Because it's new, it's different. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to come into fmodel, find the thing that you want to replace. For us, it's SK Spartans default. You're going to want to copy the package name, and you're going to want to name these as basically the same name as what you're replacing. So for the skeletal mesh here, we will rename it to Spartan default, and you're going to want to, when you copy the name, it will have a .u asset. Just remove that. It won't need it. It just breaks everything anyway. And then for these other two, you're going to want to come into your common folder and then skeleton, and then you're going to want phys Spartans common for your physics asset, right? So yeah, rename that, do that. And then you're going to want Spartans common for the skeleton, right? So we come in here, rename, remove that. So now, in your common folder, you should have all three of these. What you're going to do is you're going to want to move your SK Spartans default into the mesh folder that you made, right? So this one here, in the default folder. You want to move your whatever material got exported as well into the materials folder so default and then materials. And this will be important for something that's coming up, right? So for actually getting textures. So now what you want to do is drag and drop your SK Spartans default into your scene, very big, right? You're gonna want to come into this scale area here and change the scale to 0.01 on all of them. Never mind, to 0.1 on all of them. And this will make it the correct size for whatever we're doing, right? And then that will be about it, actually. Oh, wait, no. So then with that, you're going to want to come into here and click, right click, go to miscellaneous, and then data asset. and then search primary asset label, right? This is where we're going to put all of our things into, like all our models and our textures and all that. We're going to put it into there so that it actually gets cooked with the game. It can be named whatever you want. I'm going to call mine Greg, because Greg is cool. And then you're going to want to double click and open it up, and you'll see this here. What you're going to want to do is explicit assets. You're going to want to add as many assets as you have at the moment. What you're not going to want to do is this skeleton folder. You just do not put these into the asset. It just doesn't matter. But right at the moment, we only have one asset. So we're going to drag and drop this into there, and then we're going to save it. And then before we do cook, you see this chunk ID. You need to basically, this is going to be your pack number. You can name it. You can have it as any number that you want, up to like I think like 10,000 or something. You just have to make sure that it's not the same number as something else. So for me, I like to put it as like 1600. For this one, I'll put it as like 2900. And then you're going to set the priority to 1. And then cook rule, you want to set it as always cook. Now with that, you can save it. And then come to platforms, Windows, and then package project. And then it's going to show up here in your little Unreal projects thing. You just want to click, just select folder, and then it will start exporting it. Wow. While it's exporting, you're going to want to come back into your game files for Meteorite. You want to go to packs and then create a little folder called ~mods, right? In here, this is where you're going to have all your mods, right? So then once it's finished packaging, right, it's going to export it into a folder in your Unreal directory, right? So where that's going to be is in Documents, Unreal Projects, and then Meteorite. For me, it's called Meteorite Fortnite. That's a lie. No, it is. It's just in Meteorite, and then Windows, Meteorite, Content, Packs, and then it will be in here. So here we have obviously pack chunk 2900. You want to drag and drop that into your ~mods and then rename it to have underscore P at the end, right? Underscore capital P. And now with that, we should have our model in the game, right? So let me boot up the game and we'll see. All right. So now that we're in game, you will be able to hold E and then up arrow on the keyboard to enter machinima mode, and then you will notice that you messed up. You will notice that you have messed something up and it is broken. Now, you might be thinking, what did he do? I don't know. I'll be back in a minute. Alrighty, and with that, I am back. I have discovered what the issue was. So when I imported the skeleton, right, I accidentally scaled it down when I imported it. You do not want to do that. When you import it, you want it to have the scale at 1. But this is useful because this will then, I can show you now how to re-import the thing into your thing. So when you do have all your stuff in here, right, you can just go to the skeleton tab, right, and you can just straight up just drag and drop it back down into where you have your skeleton, and then it will re-import all your stuff, right? You can notice the skeleton is still named the same. However, you will need to rename your physics asset back to phys, and then also your MP Spartan, or whatever yours is called, back to SK Spartan's default. And now with that, right, if we go into the game, right after I put this in, you will be able to see that, you know, it should be working. And of course, make sure that you have replaced your skeleton into your Unreal scene. Alrighty, so upon coming back into your game, right, assuming you did it correctly, you should see your model, but then with the Master Chief armor over the top of it. This is because the way that this game does its Chief armor is that they're all separate static meshes instead of being a part of the same skeletal mesh. So the way that we're going to want to do that is we're going to want to create an empty mesh, or the way that I did it is I just came here, Shift A, mesh created a plane, just a single plane, and then I scaled it down until it was basically just invisible, right? So then once you do that, right, you will then want to come back into Unreal. So yeah, let's go back into Unreal, right? And you'll want to go to where your mesh thing is. You'll want to grab the FBX that you exported for your static mesh, right? Static meshes, the way that you create a static mesh is very simple. It's basically you just you just create a plane, you don't apply any armature to it, and then you just export it, right? And then that will give you an FBX. So then after you do that, right, you get your static mesh, your empty static mesh, which I call mine empty mesh, you can call yours whatever. Right, you'll want to match, you'll then want to have a separate mesh for every single one of these here, right, which is going to take a minute, but it'll be worth it, because then after you set it up once, you won't have to set it up again, right? So I'll be back once I have set all of my things up. Alright, so after you set all those up, they will be there, and then you'll want to add them to your data asset. So as before, you know, explicit assets, you add as many as there are here, which for me, there are 18, right? And then so I'll add 18 assets, which will bring this up to 19, right? So you'll add all of these into here. Now, after this, we'll want to be setting up the textures. Okay, so the way that textures are set up in this game, like I explained before, we cannot have custom materials, which means that we need to use the default materials that are in the game and then swap over the textures. So with that, as said before, if you have a model with multiple different materials that all use different textures, you'll want to combine them all into one texture, right? Which is called a unit. And then with this, right, see all of these here, you have a, so yeah, with this, you'll have to create 3 textures, primarily. You'll need you'll need the D, you'll need an ORME, and you'll need a normal map, right? D is for diffuse, ORME is occlusion, roughness, metalness, and then emissive. And then you'll have the normal maps here, right? So for the ORME, right, you're going to have the red channel will be ambient occlusion, which is sort of white wispy kind of thing. Green is for your roughness, and then blue is for your metalness, and then the alpha will be for your emissive texture, right? So after you have all of those set up, you want to come back into Unreal, create a textures folder in your default folder or whatever you have, whatever asset you're replacing. For me, I'm replacing the default Spartan. So you'll want to come into textures, and then you'll want to, I already have a bunch of mine in here, but you'll want to grab your textures that you made and you'll want to drag and drop them into your, basically your Unreal thing here, right? So I'll drag and drop these in here. And then with that, that will create the things, right? And you'll want to name them, once again, the exact same as what you named them before. So for me, mine are already set up with the names, but for you, you'll want to come into your F model again. You'll want to go into textures and you'll want to rename them to these. So for me, it's like Spartan default, armor D, Spartan default, N, stuff like that, right? All right. So in order to use virtual texture streaming, you're going to want to have your texture as a multiple of 2, right? So it needs to be like 512, 1024, 4096, 8, whatever the hell, right? And for me, mine isn't that currently, so I'm going to have to change it. If you come into Photoshop or whatever thing you use, you can just change your image size to be correct. For me, it's going to be 16:384, right? It's going to stretch it, it's going to look a bit weird, but it should allow me to enable the texture streaming or whatever, right? So if I come in here, come to search virtual, and yes, as you can see here, virtual texture streaming, I can turn it to true, and then I will have to do this for my other 2 textures as well. Then let me re-import these other 2. God damn it. that will enable virtual texture streaming on both of these as well. Alright, so after you import all of them and enable virtual texture streaming, you'll want to come into your ORME and you'll want to turn on or turn off sRGB. Otherwise, this is going to mess up your ORM. It's going to look a bit weird. And then you're going to want to do the same for your normal maps if that hasn't already been done, right? But after you have your textures, your model should have imported with a material. If it didn't, it'll be pretty simple to do. You're just going to want to drag and drop a texture onto your model, and that will set up a material for you to use, right? So then, with that newly created material, for me, T-Spartan's default or whatever, you want to go into materials. You're going to want to go into your default folder, or whatever yours is called, once again. You'll want to go and create a folder called materials. Now in here is going to be where your materials are, right? So what you want to do is rename that material that you have to, once again, whatever the material is named in here. For me, it's mi underscore master chief, mi underscore chief underscore armor. So basically, I will just copy that name and I'll paste it onto my new material. Now, after you've set that up, you want to go into your material and find any textures that you have, and you want to just simply drag and drop them into this little interface here, right? After this, you'll want to just plug them into wherever. So obviously D goes into the base color, N goes into the normal, the R for the ORM goes into ambient occlusion, G goes into roughness, B goes into metallic, and then A goes into emissive. So then after you've done all that, you can just Control S it, and then you can see that your model in Unreal will have, you know, textures on, which is good. This is what we want. Now, if you go back to your material and you right click it, you'll find something that says Asset Actions. You'll want to click Assign to Chunk, and then you'll want to assign it to any chunk as a maximum of 300. I like to set mine to 300. So then after that, click OK, right? You go back into your mesh and you will have this little interface here. You'll want to see this little material slot here. You'll want to click it and find your material. Right, for me, mi underscore chief underscore armor, right? And this is in order to have your model actually have its textures in the game, right? So then with that, we can just do one final export, and then in the game, it should have all your textures and you should be done. Oh, and quickly, before you do before you do extract, you're going to want to also add your textures into your data asset as well. And do not forget to place down all of your static meshes that you created into the world, otherwise they will not be created in the game. So it just will not exist. Alrighty, and so with that, you can see that our 3D model is in the game. The chest there in the sky, that's just me messing up vertex groups things. But as you can see, we do have all of our textures. And we do have all of our, so we have our textures, we have our model, it's all set up correctly, and it's in the game. First person arms are the exact same process, they just use a different rig, so they'll have a different pose. But this is a pretty universal thing for just importing models into the game. So anyway, that is all. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.